you so angry with me?
Because it's your fault. You made me like this.
They were brothers in everything but blood, until they weren't. What if the strongest bond in Elmore was torn apart, and Gumball and Darwin became enemies? What would happen if they weren't on the same side anymore? Everyone knows Gumball and Darwin have the strongest bond in the whole of Elmore, whether as brothers or as best friends. They do literally everything together, and because of their crazy bond, they basically drive every kind of chaos in Elmore. But honestly, we can't deny that no matter how much they try to cover it up with humor, they have had their moments of resentment on the show. Think about what happened in the episode titled The Sidekick. They start off with Gumball and Darwin goofing around, as usual, pretending they're inside the video game they lent Tobias. But at some point, Gumball gets frustrated and starts yelling at Darwin to try harder, and then suggests Darwin just grow wings like he grew legs, because, you know, that's how life works, obviously. Darwin gets annoyed, and Gumball just starts complaining about their goofy imagination. At school, they approach Tobias to get their game back, but Tobias is super dodgy, saying every day that he forgot to bring it. Gumball's patience wears thin, and when he wants to declare war to get it back, only that there was a teeny tiny problem. When he turns to Darwin to follow him into battle, Darwin wants to lead instead of following this time. But Gumball does nothing but scoff at him. Darwin then decides to show Gumball how he's often ignored. He drags him to look at the yearbook where Darwin's entry literally says, "Shadow of Gumball." And when Darwin asks their classmates if they recognize him, it turns out that they thought Darwin was just Gumball's bag. That evening, they sneak into Tobias's backyard to break in and reclaim the game. But Darwin backpedals. He feels demoted, refuses to help, and leaves Gumball behind. Gumball calls out, but Darwin is just off sulking. By lunch the next day, the tension is high. Gumball asks for fish on the side, and Darwin misinterprets it for a sidekick pun, so he loses it. Storms out, they mock each other. Eventually, Gumball agrees that Darwin leads, but boy, was it a disaster. He kidnaps Tobias's mother and almost gets her run over. In the end, Gumball and Darwin patch things up, but we still see traces of their low-key rivalry on the show from season to season. And then there's another such scenario in an episode titled The Secret, where it begins with Gumball and Darwin stuck in the boys' bathroom at school. The door's locked, they're freaking out, and Gumball decides it's the best time to confess a secret. He then blurts out that he drew a weird, creepy picture in Darwin's school book, which got Darwin in trouble and sent to counseling over the summer. Darwin, in turn, says he also has a secret he wants to tell, but just as he's about to spill it, Rocky the janitor bursts in and frees them, saying he thought the screams were haunted girls. Now free, Gumball can't stop thinking, what's Darwin's secret? He pesters, nags, even smashes Darwin's video game character repeatedly in revenge. Then Gumball tries trickery. He cooks Darwin a meal, but of course, it's super spicy. He hides any water or drink, leaving only a glass of milk to dangle in front of Darwin, so he'll spill his secret just to get relief. Darwin suffers, creeps toward the milk, and collapses. The next time, Gumball makes a fake phone call message, convinces Darwin there's a prize waiting, and says he'll only get it if he reveals the secret. Time's running out. Phone is about to cut off, and just at the brink, Darwin starts to speak, but the call ends, cutting him off. Gumball even tries reading Darwin's mind. He stretches his face freakily toward Darwin, hoping to pick up thoughts like a psychic, but he gives up that attempt pretty fast. Meanwhile, Darwin has a vivid dream. He's swimming and he suddenly meets a catfish that begs him to tell the secret. Next morning, Anais claims she knows Darwin's secret. Gumball harasses her all day, poking her, getting beat up a bit, trying to force it out. Later at school, Gumball pretends he already knows the secret just to force Darwin's hand. Then, Gumball decided to go rogue about it. He locks himself and Darwin in the bathroom again. That forces his brother to reveal his secret that the sandwich Gumball had prepared wasn't amazing. It was just okay. Gumball is actually disappointed because he expected something bigger. With no other exit, they escape via the sewers. They argue, fight, swim through gross water, and eventually end up flushed into the water purification plant, and make their way home through their own toilet. But it turns out that wasn't the real secret. They had accidentally uploaded an embarrassing video of Gumball dancing badly and wrecking his room. Bad news is it got thousands and thousands of views. The episode ended right there, but we can already imagine how Gumball would react to that. It would have been more than enough to make them enemies. We see pretty much the same pattern in the 6th season, in an episode titled The Decisions. Gumball and Darwin are riding the school bus when Gumball casually asks his brother what he wants to do after school. Darwin just freezes up and says,
You know how bad I am at making decisions.
So Gumball tosses Darwin a solution and says he'll make Darwin's decisions instead. Darwin hesitates, but Gumball goes ahead anyway. Now, a week later, Darwin's life is a mess because he blindly followed Gumball's advice. Gumball thinks it's going pretty well until he sees Darwin in full chaos mode. Darwin snaps and says he's done listening to Gumball, and he goes on the hunt for a new advisor. In the cafeteria, he rejects Tobias, Banana Joe, and can't even remember Gregory. Then he spots Alan, the balloon guy, holding a mini-talk about eating veggies, and chooses Alan as his mentor. Alan accepts, and Darwin starts doing everything Alan says. Things actually go well. He apologizes to Carrie, gets praise from Principal Brown for a solar system diorama, helps with pest control, even helps catch Sal Left Thumb, all thanks to Alan's good decisions. It wasn't until there was flooding in the mall that Darwin learned to make his own decisions. He saved the day without listening to Gumball or even Alan. Basically, Darwin grew up and decided he will not live in Gumball's shadow anymore. But let's be hypothetical for a moment and imagine how it would go down if Gumball and Darwin ever became enemies. It wouldn't take just one betrayal. It'd probably be a bunch of little moments, stacking up until everything explodes. Well, it could happen that Gumball becomes internet famous overnight after one of his ridiculous stunts goes viral, and suddenly Darwin's the guy next to the star. All the interviews, merch, and fan art are about Gumball. Darwin actually tries to be supportive, but when Gumball starts forgetting to mention him in videos, the resentment starts to get serious. Then Darwin will most likely make his own channel, and fans now have to pick sides. And we have Elmore's biggest drama, Gumball versus Darwin. Or it could be something about Penny, a complete misunderstanding. It could be that Darwin gives Penny advice on how to surprise Gumball, but someone overhears and twists the story. Suddenly, rumors fly that Darwin stole Gumball's girlfriend. Gumball, being Gumball, probably overreacts. That'll definitely be a showdown that wrecks their friendship. The bros who've survived mutant pizzas, evil teddy bears, and talking bananas are no longer speaking. And without them working together, Elmore starts to feel off. At first, everyone thinks it's just another one of their fights. Nicole rolls her eyes, Richard shrugs, and Anais bets they'll make up by lunchtime. But this time, nope, they mean it. Darwin moves his stuff to the other side of the room. Gumball tapes a line down the middle like it's a Cold War border, and suddenly, the Watterson house feels like a divided country. At home, even breakfast becomes a war. Nicole probably has to cook 2 separate meals because Gumball refuses to eat anything that's touched Darwin's side of the table. Darwin, being polite but petty, labels all the food in the fridge with sticky notes. Mine, also mine, definitely mine. Richard will try to stay neutral, but most likely ends up eating both their pancakes for peacekeeping. Anais will be the only one actually trying to fix things, but every time she suggests talking it out, Gumball will say Darwin's too stubborn, and Darwin will say Gumball's too selfish. At school, the fallout gets even messier. Gumball and Darwin each form their own friend groups, or teams, as Gumball will probably call them. Gumball gets Tobias, Banana Joe, and Clayton, while Darwin hangs out with Carrie, Penny, and Alan, which will probably be the call crowd. But without Darwin to balance him out, Gumball's pranks will definitely get way out of hand. He could flood the hallway with foam, glue lockers shut, and accidentally short-circuit the fire alarm system. Meanwhile, Darwin's group tries to fix things, but their peaceful cleanup projects will just make Gumball look worse. Soon, the whole school starts picking sides. Team Gumball versus Team Darwin, and Principal Brown will probably start to hold separate assemblies because, it's just safer that way. At the mall, things won't even get any better. Gumball and Darwin show up at the same time, spot each other at the food court, and suddenly the entire building becomes an awkward standoff. Gumball's group sits at one table, Darwin's at another, and they both keep ordering more food just to prove a point. When the bill comes, they both refuse to pay. So Larry the clerk quits again. Even around town, Elmore starts to feel different without their teamwork. Usually, when something weird happens, like a possessed blender or a rampaging Mr. Small, Gumball and Darwin are the ones to fix it, accidentally or not. But now, weird things will stay weird. The blender will keep haunting the supermarket for days. The donut cop gets stuck in a tree, and no one's there to help him down. Elmore's balance will pretty much just go off. At home, Nicole will eventually snap. She calls a family meeting, which quickly turns into a shouting match, and typical Richard brings snacks, thinking it's movie night. Anais tries to stay calm but ends up yelling. Nicole, who is probably exhausted, says if they can't live under one roof peacefully, she'll make them figure out who moves into the garage. When they get back home, Gumball and Darwin silently eat cereal at opposite ends of the table, both pretending they're fine, both missing how things used to be. By the next week, Elmore itself seems to want them back together. Their bus breaks down, both their friend groups fall apart, and even Larry will be forced to put up a "No Wattersons Allowed" sign at the store. With everything going haywire, Gumball will probably laugh it all off, and he'll figure Darwin's probably just as miserable. And any day now, he'll come crawling back with that apologetic fishy smile. But when Gumball spots Darwin walking home with Penny and Carrie laughing, he knows he's been replaced, and you know how Gumball is. His brain starts running wild. And of course, he'll try to brush it off with his usual antics. Prank calls, banana jokes, maybe a fake school announcement about Darwin's dramatic diary being on sale. But nobody laughs. Even Tobias thinks that's kinda mean. For once, Gumball feels left out. His pranks don't hit, his jokes don't land, and the school feels colder without Darwin cracking up beside him. He walks home alone, pretending he doesn't care, but the quiet eats at him. Darwin, on the other hand, isn't having the time of his life either. Sure, he's got friends who actually listen to him now. Alan gives pep talks. Carrie's chill. Penny's supportive, but there's just something missing. Every time someone compliments him, it sounds a little like they're comparing him to Gumball, telling him how he is so much more responsible than his brother. It could feel good at first, but at some point, it starts to sting. Because deep down, Darwin knows he wanted to grow, not to replace Gumball, but now everyone's treating him like the better Watterson. The tension finally boils when Gumball shows up at school late, just as Darwin's presenting a project with Penny and Carrie. Gumball cracks a joke from the doorway, trying to lighten the mood. The class laughs, but Darwin doesn't. He just stares. Gumball sees it as rejection, but Darwin sees it as Gumball mocking him in front of everyone. Later that day, Gumball would probably find his locker covered in drawings, old doodles of him, and Darwin ripped down the middle. He thinks Darwin did it. Darwin finds his project smashed with glitter and glue. He thinks Gumball did it. Nobody knows that Banana Joe was just trying to decorate for Friendship Week. Now, they're both hurt for the wrong reasons. Gumball feels abandoned, Darwin feels betrayed, and Elmore feels like it's sitting on a ticking time bomb. So, what do you think would really push Gumball and Darwin over the edge? Fame? Jealousy? Or just one too many pranks? Drop your theory in the comments, and if you want to see more Gumball videos, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any content. Because honestly, Elmore just wouldn't survive without those two.